You're watching Access Minnesota. Here's Jim Dubois.
Now more on tracking Minnesota weather with National Weather Service meteorologist Todd Krause. Let's talk about the difference between a watch and a warning. What should people do when a watch is issued? What should they do when a warning is issued?
Well, a watch basically means just pay attention. Be aware that severe weather is possible. You know, it doesn't mean that you're going to get storms. It doesn't mean you're going to get a tornado. It just means that conditions are right for storms that might be severe or even tornadoes somewhere in that general area. And so that's what the watch means. It just means pay attention, be aware that that's the possibility. When it comes to a warning, you know, we can almost think of the Lost in Space, Danger Will Robinson type of scenario, where storm is out there and it is imminent, it's occurring, whether it comes right across your house or not, and does severe damage is up for grabs. It might be a little bit offset from there, you know, a mile or two or three, one direction versus another. But when we issue a warning, it means there's a storm out there. It means take cover if you're anywhere in the area.
The National Weather Service relies on trained spotters to give you a lot of real-time severe weather information. But as social media like Facebook proliferates, do you foresee it being more of a two-way street where you may get some useful information about severe weather from people who post Facebook updates?
Yeah, absolutely. And so we're monitoring Facebook during severe weather. We're also able to monitor Twitter as well. We've got a certain hashtag that weather spotters will use. And so we will get their reports that way. We've got the old online system that we've had for about 7 or 8 years as well, that spotters can go and report online as well. Plus the old-fashioned telephone. In many ways, it's still the best way to be able to talk back and forth. But there are times when you've got trained weather spotters seeing something, or maybe not seeing something, but you can't have trained spotters everywhere. And so if a person that's just interested in weather and they've liked us on Facebook, you know, they might post something, they might post a link to their webcam, and all of a sudden we're able to watch whatever it is they're watching. And so that's really, really neat. You know, there could be a time, you know, some years from now, when we're able to link into webcams all over the place and actually watch the severe weather remotely here from Chanhassen. So the way technology is progressing, it's helped not just our understanding and looking at storms with better radar and better computers, but just better technology in general helps the communication of information to us and then to the public as well.
We still hear some safety information on tornadoes that's a bit outdated. Some people will still say, go to the southwest corner of your basement, open a window on the side away from the approaching storm. We'll hear talk about drive at a right angle to an approaching tornado. None of that advice really pertains anymore, does it?
It really doesn't. About the only one, sometimes if you're far away in open country where you don't have to worry about traffic, then you can drive away from it. But if you're even in a city of a few thousand people, sometimes trying to drive can be really, really tough, because maybe there's been heavy rain, maybe power is out and stoplights aren't working, and then all of a sudden you get congestion at an intersection. So it really doesn't work very well to try to drive if you're in any kind of population at all. But certainly the opening of windows and being in the southwest corner, that's something that was touted back, you know, 50s, 60s, maybe even part of the 70s perhaps. But it really stopped being a safety rule sometime in the 70s at least, maybe even in the 60s. But yet I remember reading books that were written back in the 50s talking about open up a window, you know, and go to the southwest corner. The theory about windows was that if you open the window, that equalizes the pressure. Well, for the pressure to be equalized, you'd actually have to have the tornado sitting over the house for you to be in that really low pressure. Well, if the tornado is sitting over the house, the fierce winds in the perimeter of the tornado will have already hit the house, and in fact that very strong wind gets inside the house by going in through the windows, and then you get the strong winds actually lifting the roof off from within the house. So opening windows is actually the worst thing you can do from the integrity of the structural integrity of the house, and then also you're putting yourself at risk in case you fool with those windows just as the tornado is bearing down on you, and now all of a sudden glass is being blown right into you. So just stay away from windows, get to the basement. Don't worry about the southwest corner, that's irrelevant. Instead, go to the basement or the lowest level on the most, if you can't get to a basement, get to the most interior room that you possibly can. Small rooms are best on the interior of a house. If you can get to a basement, get underneath a desk, underneath a workbench, underneath something, because all that debris may cascade down on top of you. And so it's important to be underneath something when all that stuff is going to land on you.
Todd, what do you think are some of the better sources for weather information online, for example?
Well, certainly online, I would recommend going to the National Weather Service website. We're at weather.gov, and that's where you can go to the National Weather Service and find out a whole host of information, whether it's safety information, whether it's public information, whether it's getting storm information, getting your warnings, seeing radar imagery, seeing satellite pictures, seeing aviation forecasts. If you're a pilot, that's very important. Seeing what the cloud heights. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you can find through the National Weather Service at weather.gov.
Todd Krause, Warning Coordination Meteorologist at the National Weather Service office in Chanhassen. Thanks so much for joining us again on Access Minnesota.
You're welcome.
Access Minnesota will return after these messages.